Good afternoon on May 1st, 2023. As always, my name is David Schlotthauer, and in today's video, we're going to be giving you a detailed update on the latest Nino conditions going on in the Eastern Pacific, and we're going to tell you on how this is going to impact the upcoming hurricane season and what you could expect for next winter. Now, before I do get started, I do have a couple announcements that I do want to share with you all, then we'll get into the video. The first announcement is please check out my semi-annual YouTube channel survey for May 1st, 2023. There will be a link in the description below this video. I want as much responses as we can possible. So far, I only had 5 since about noon today. So if you haven't taken the survey, please consider doing so because there is very important questions that you all need to answer because it really helps out to improve the YouTube channel really well here. I want to know what you guys think of my thumbnails, how long I should make my videos, so please do that in the survey with the link in the description below this video. Also, check out trilogymaps.com. Here is the promotion. I am incredibly excited to announce that I'm officially an affiliate with trilogymaps.com. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment below. Trilogy Maps has created the highest definition, the most customizable digital maps you can find anywhere online at a highly affordable price. These maps are so customizable due to a very unique layering system that makes it possible to create whatever map you like. Making weather maps that look incredibly professional has never been this easy before. So if you want the highest definition, the most customizable, and the most professional looking weather maps that you can make up for a very affordable price, go ahead and check out trilogymaps.com. And again, be sure to use my 20% off discount code by going to trilogymaps.com and then entering the code DAVID before finalizing your purchase. So with all those announcements out of the way, it's a good idea that we talk about latest ENSO, our recent evaluation, current status, and predictions as of May 1st, 2023. This is the exact first day of the month, so it makes sense that we do talk about this, where we're at and where we are headed. So we're gonna be looking at our summary first, and of course they have issued an El Nino watch that has been issued because we have neutral conditions that are being observed and our sea surface temperatures are already near to above average across much of the Pacific. We can see some huge warming that has occurred since March here with a huge uptick in sea surface temperatures roughly from about 120 degrees west longitude all the way over to 80 degrees west longitude. So right around the Peru coast, we've had some very warm anomalous waters really increasing so far this time. So our Nino region sea surface temperature departures recent evaluation does show this. The 1+2 region is still very far above average. 2.4 Celsius is the departure from over the last week. El Nino 3 region is 0.7 degrees Celsius. The El Nino 3.4 region is 0.4 Celsius. So pretty much almost the entire basin here is already now warmer, or pretty much already warmer than average, but only a couple of basins left here that are seeing technically neutral conditions before technically it becomes El Nino when we get up to 0.5 Celsius or warmer, which should occur by next week at this time is what my prediction actually is. So for reference, there is the El Nino 3 region in red. We have a outline block box that we have here, El Nino 4 to El Nino 3. That is the El Nino 3.4 region because it covers 2 basins. And then our El Nino 4 is in yellow right here. And then our El Nino or Nino 1+2 region is in white. So kind of all the references up here refer to which basin are they occurring in down below. So now let's move on. So here's a look at our sea surface departures in the tropical Pacific during the last 4 weeks, and we can see some substantial warming that has occurred over here over the far eastern Pacific basin, with neutral conditions still in place over the central Pacific south of Hawaii. So we're not quite there to El Nino just yet, but we are marching closely, and again, by next week, we might have an El Nino, a very weak one at the very least, or at the very most, because of those sea surface temperatures. So we're just going to skip on through this because it's literally the same thing that we just looked at. We'll show you more in the sea surface temperature standpoint here in just a second. But more importantly, I want to show you all the Central and Eastern Pacific Upper Ocean heat content. Where are we at? Are we well above average? Are we well below average? And again, these are subsurface anomalies. This is not at the surface. This is below the ocean. So if you nosedive, if you take a scuba dive, you can find warmer than average sea surface temperatures in the Eastern Pacific below the surface. And that's what the orange indicates here. Really going up here since mid-February, really up there now. Right now, the latest contribution is roughly about 1.2 Celsius above normal, roughly from about 180 degrees west to 100 degrees west. So from the international dateline, roughly to the Eastern Pacific is all significantly warmer than average. And that's what this indicates over the equator, is these warmer than normal anomalies. This is basically that. We can see why it has warmed up because of what we see here. Lots of orange and red colors now on the screen. This thumbnail right here is the latest analysis as of April 23rd, 2023. And all the thumbnails on this side correspond sea surface temperatures below the surface ever since March the 4th. So literally about 2 months ago, we were seeing sea surface temperatures like this. Really not much of an El Nino sign coming, right? That's kind of the debate there that we had. And then all of a sudden, look at what has happened here. Really, really significant warming now already in the Eastern Pacific. Below the surface here, sea surface temperature anomalies are as much as 6 to 8 degrees Celsius above the long-term average. That is absolutely phenomenal. Very substantial. If that makes its way to the surface, which some of it has, it's going to just make El Nino even stronger. So we really got to watch to see how this actually pans out. Because if a lot of this surfaces, like I said, from the international dateline, which is about 180 degrees longitude, further to the east, this is going to be a pretty strong El Nino, to say the least. By at least mid to late fall is when we expect things to really be in full swing with El Nino. Tropical anomalies here, wind patterns in the low levels, really not seeing anomalous west wind bursts at all that have shown up. Maybe a little bit over here, a little bit over here, but overall, trade winds are running about average for this time of the year over the last month or so. These are 30-day averages. Also, 200 millibar winds too are running about average to slightly above average from the west, which indicates that when we have west winds aloft, that wind is still sinking over the Eastern Pacific, and we're still getting stronger than normal trade winds that are occurring at the right above the ocean surface, and we're still getting a imbalance in air pressure over Australia and Darwin, but it's not as strong as what we had. So still some west wind bursts going on in the 200 millibar level, which is pretty high up where jet planes fly, and we want to see that at the surface or just above the surface. So here's a look at the weekly heat content evaluation, and we have seen a pretty big warm up over the last since mid-February with these Kelvin waves that have been getting stronger and stronger, coupled with the MJO, which helped to increase the sea surface temperatures over the Central and Eastern Pacific, which has and done so thus far, with the dotted lines indicating each Kelvin wave propagation as it moves further to the east. No more El Nino, or no more La Nina, that is for certain. The Christ girl is gone, and we can welcome the Christ boy. So we can see low-level wind anomalies. Oranges and reds indicate weaker trade winds and at times west wind bursts. And the blue colors up here from, like, say, December and January indicate stronger than normal trade winds. Usually those indicate that La Nina is in full swing. It's not going to die very soon. Well, we have had a slackening and reversal of the trade winds from time to time, and that has allowed, again, El Nino to really shape up nicely. Upper level 200 millibar velocity potential anomalies are as such. Brown and yellow colors indicate sinking motion in the atmosphere, while green colors indicate lots of rising motion in the atmosphere. So what this tells us is, since we have El Nino in place, we are seeing a very strong MJO response to that. And that is unfortunate news for what I'm about to tell you here soon in the video for the Atlantic side of things. Ongoing long-wave radiation and anomalies, we're not going to really get into that very much. We're just going to kind of scoot to boot through this very quickly. The January, February, March, as far as those anomalies go over the last 3 months, have been cooler than average, but we are starting to see a rapid change through as we go forward. So our NOAA Coral Reef Watch sea surface temperature anomalies global mean as of right now, May 1st, this was just released literally like 5 minutes ago, so this is absolutely fresh off the press. You can see sea surface temperatures here that are running anywhere between about 1 degree to almost 1.5 Celsius above normal in the El Nino 3 region. This is not the 3.4. The El Nino 3.4 is over here. And again, we are still kind of teeter-tottering on that near normal side of things. Where it's been very, very warm has been along the coast of Peru. Look at these anomalies, anywhere between 5 to 7 Celsius above normal. That's this right up here on the top of the chart. Take note of that. Very far above average over in that particular region of the Eastern Pacific. It's going to be interesting to see if all of this red actually sloshes eastward slowly and helps to develop this El Nino. If it doesn't, then we're going to have another big problem on our hands to worry about for the Atlantic side of things, and that's for the Atlantic hurricane season. And that's where this animation comes from. So this is literally the last 90 days, so the last 3 months of sea surface temperature anomaly archive. And we can see how La Nina evolved. Now looking at an El Nino, as you can see here in orange and red, really developing nicely. And even some very dark red colors, which indicate sea surface temperatures that are 5+ Celsius above normal. Now, another important thing that we also have to really look at, most of this video is not about the Atlantic hurricane season, by the way. If you want to refer to that, I will have a tag up on the top of the video here, leading you all to my Atlantic hurricane season forecast, my first forecast. I'll have another one out in a couple of weeks to showing you with what my latest thinking is. But look at this. Very warm Iberian Peninsula, very warm central, and literally across the equatorial portion of the Atlantic basin. These sea surface temperatures have warmed up to a quick degree to where we are now averaging about 2 to at times 3 Celsius above normal right off the coast here of Africa near the Cabo Verde Islands. And this is where tropical cyclones like to typically seed from. They form, and they may be having an easier time forming this year because we have very warm sea surface temperatures, especially right here. I wish I can pause this. Wait until the last few frames. Look at that. 3.4 Celsius waters right there over the Iberian Peninsula. So very warm Atlantic waters. And I'm very concerned now versus with what I was thinking last week that we might just have a fairly busy Atlantic hurricane season. I'm not going to give out my named storm update yet, but all I'm saying here, I'm emphasizing we might have a slightly above average season in some degree. Or if El Nino fails to develop, we're going to be in much worse trouble over the Atlantic. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think El Nino is going to develop. So let's take a look here at our CFS. And here's why I think El Nino is going to continue developing. So this is the climate forecasting system for June 2023. And we can see this red tongue illustrates El Nino, the Christ boy. Let's go forward in time. Let's just see how this develops. Really, let's not pay attention to the Atlantic very much because we know that's going to stay well above average for the entire season, probably throughout summer and fall. Look at how strong El Nino gets. By August 2023, by September 2023, very ominous look here. Very warm sea surface temperatures all the way from almost 120 degrees east longitude over the international date line over towards 120 and 100 or about 60 degrees west longitude. very, very warm sea surface temperatures at the surface, and that is very, very concerning. Okay, and this is going to result in a fairly strong El Nino, and we can see by November and December, look at how strong this is. Very, very pronounced. You cannot miss El Nino at all. It is very, very pronounced with its footprint. Very classic signal here with also a warm Atlantic. And another concern is we might have a near average PDO and a cool Atlantic. That might mean the jet stream could be a lot stronger this coming winter. That could result in more problems. So let's take a look here at the jet stream forecast very quickly, because this does relate to with what El Nino can actually do to our weather pattern. Cool, isn't it? So let's go to June. Let's go to July. We know the jet stream is going to be weak, but it's not until we get into November when anomalous troughing develops over the west coast. So over California, over Nevada, over the western half of the U.S., going to see more troughing, more stronger jet stream patterns increase, more high-pressure systems possibly over the northeastern U.S., as well as the northern U.S. That means dry conditions are likely to prevail, and you'll see the precipitation anomaly here in a little bit. But look at this, December and January, very, very pronounced El Nino pattern, very strong amplified troughing, very strong. I mean, it is down here on the lower half of the scale of how strong the heights will be, how low they can be, including for the deep south and the southeast, which means we might have a lot of rainfall to contend with, more flood problems, more heavy snow for the Sierra, maybe more melting episodes too that could lead to more significant flood concerns, something that a lot of Californians are not looking forward towards. Maybe after a very hot summer that we're forecasting and a very dry one, I think it would be welcoming sights. So by October, by November, you can see wetter than normal conditions over the Midwest and the Deep South. Again, this is a forecast 6 months out. This is going to change. Okay, I can promise you all that right now. Do not rely on the CFS completely. It is just a guide of what might be coming by the end of this year into early next year. I know it's way too far out to worry about next year. We're just not halfway through the year yet. June 1st will officially be. But I want to let you all know what might be coming. By January 2024, very wetter than normal conditions across the Deep South and the Southeast. Remember, the northeastern U.S. might be drier than normal. Also, the Pacific Northwest might be drier than normal. That will largely depend on how El Nino comes by. But for sure, if we get a strong signal or even a very strong El Nino or even perhaps a super or Godzilla El Nino, we could see some very intense rainfall, lots of flood events, strong wind events, stormy conditions, including for the probability chance of more flood and heavy rain problems for the southeast and the eastern seaboard. Now, really quickly, without kind of jumping off the conclusion here or jumping off the video, I wanted to show you all how the Atlantic season might be going. So, again, very dependent on El Nino and very dependent on the Iberian Peninsula horseshoe, or the NPO or NA. It's not the NAO. I forgot the word that I'm looking for. You guys could probably help me out in the comment section below, but it's some oscillation. It's some sea surface temperature setup pattern that I look for here, and it's classically the warm horseshoe phase that we have that usually facilitates really active seasons. So right now, for some of you that have been probably betting that, oh, we're going to have a very busy season, don't jump your gun yet. We are not sure yet. And that's because, again, we first have to get past the spring predictability barrier because of El Nino that is kind of in place here over the eastern Pacific. How strong will it get is to be announced. But according to the CFS, and you guys are going to find maps like this that do show anomalous above average precipitation, sometimes the CFS can be wet biased or dry biased. And in this case, I still believe it's somewhat wet biased. But we will keep an eye on this because we might have a rather busy June and July. I don't think we're going to have a very busy May in the tropics because the pattern does not favor that yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least one named storm in May and maybe a couple or so in June or July. as we have above average anomalous here, which means more active tropical waves coming off of Africa. But again, only time will tell on that portion. All right, well, that is going to do it. Now, before I do end the video, folks, I do ask you all really, really nicely, and I will be promoting this in future videos until I get enough responses. So if you haven't done the semi-annual YouTube channel survey today, please consider doing so. There will be a link in the description below this video, and I'm even going to pin it to the comment section, and I'm even going to put this out on Twitter. All right, so you guys can do it. All right, I need a lot of responses. So far, I have only gotten 6 responses, which is not bad. So please do the survey, because again, the more accurate responses you guys give me, the more detailed, and I could look at the responses graph, and I can see that, oh, you guys have said this, you guys have said this, and I could average things out and determine what is the best thing for me to do better for the YouTube channel. So you guys need to speak up and help me out on this, and I will help you all out by listening to your guys' responses. Does that make sense? Also, be sure to check out trilogymaps.com by going to trilogymaps.com. That will also be pinned to the comment and in the description below the video. So be sure to check that out. It's a very awesome website you guys need to purchase maps from. That's going to do it with this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll have more for you tomorrow.